Chapter 29. Vicarious Atonement. Leviticus 16, 11-28. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before the Lord, and his hands full of sweet incense, beaten small, and bring it within the veil. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then shall he kill the goats of the sin offering, that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil, and do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat, and before the mercy seat. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins, and so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation, that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation, when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out, and have made an atonement for himself, and for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock, and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions in all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth, and offer his burnt offering, and the burnt offering of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn upon the altar, and he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward come into the camp. And the bullock for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the holy place, shall one carry forth without the camp, and they shall burn in the fire their skins, and their flesh, and their dung. And he that burneth them shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp. Leviticus 16, 11-28. Leviticus makes it very clear that sin is not a casual matter, and it is also costly. The sinner had to do 2 things. First, he made restitution to God with confession and a sacrifice. Since a bullock could cost, in terms of 1986 prices, $300 to $500, depending on its size and weight, and sheep did not come cheaply either, the monetary price of sin was a very serious one. Second, restitution had to be made to man, and since it ranged between a 2-fold and a 5-fold restitution, this meant that sinning was very expensive. Since New Testament times, both Judaism and Christianity have cheapened the meaning of sin. What is said here gives only the personal side of the cost. In Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28, and Many other passages we are bluntly told of the even greater social costs and consequences. But this is not all. In the Old Testament, 5 different Hebrew words describe with differing emphases what is translated by the one English word transgression. In the New Testament, there are 4 words which are translated as transgression, and this can be called 5 if we include anomos and anomia as separate words. In verse 16, the word transgressions is a word used by prophets to describe Israel's sin. Pesha means rebellion. It refers to a personal break from and action against the personal God. It is used here in the plural and means rebellious actions. Snaith said that it meant sin against a personal God rather than a transgression of laws laid down by him. It means rather that man has rebelled against the personal God by breaking the laws laid down by him. God's law is a very personal fact. It is the expression of his holiness and justice. On the Day of Atonement, the priest entered the most holy place. Ula's comment here is important. On the Day of Atonement, the priest who approaches with the blood of atonement must envelop himself in a cloud of incense, Leviticus 16:13, when he raises the curtain. This expresses the fact that full communion between God and man is not to be realized, even through the medium of the atonement to be attained by the Old Testament sacrificial institutions, that, as is said in Hebrews 9:8, as yet the way to the heavenly sanctuary was not made manifest. The Kaporeth rests on the ark, in which are the tables of the law, the testimony. This means that God sits enthroned in Israel on the ground of the covenant of law which he has made with Israel. The testimony is preserved in the ark as a treasure, a jewel, but with this goes a second consideration. While the law is certainly in the first place a testimony to the will of God toward the people, it is also, compared what is said in Deuteronomy 23:26 following of the roll of the law deposited beside the Ark of the Covenant, a testimony against the sinful people, a continual record of accusation, so to speak, against their sins in the sight of the Holy God. And now, when the Kaporeth is over the tables, it is declared that God's grace, which provides an atonement or covering for the iniquity of the people, stands above his penal justice. Among other things, it is important to note that Ula called attention to the relation, first, between law and mercy. The law is given as covenant law. It is God's grace to his people. In the law, God gives to covenant man the way of life. God declares, "Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord." Leviticus 18:4 and 5. Again, in Deuteronomy 4:1, God says concerning his laws, "Do them that ye may live." Compare John 15:4. The law is not given as a burden, although it is such to the rebels, but as a blessing. If we do not sin presumptuously, then the grace of the law manifests itself to us as mercy. Second, the law is a treasure to the covenant people, and hence the law is in God's most holy place. The cover of the law is atonement or expiation, so that the law is given as an act of grace and mercy continues to flow to the people of the covenant. To be brought into the grace and salvation of God is to be made a part of the realm of mercy and law. The law was given in grace and mercy, and the people of the law live under grace and mercy. Third, the law is judgment against those who despise it, for to despise the law is also to despise God's mercy. The mercy seat is on the Ark of the Covenant. Its treasure is the law, and it is the great and supreme judge who gives mercy, not an anti-judge who is hostile to the law. Fourth, at the same time, on the Day of Atonement, all the iniquities of the covenant people are confessed by the high priest on the head of the goat to be sent away, the scapegoat. These iniquities mean crookedness, willful departures from the law of God. The ordinary sacrifices did not include presumptuous and high-handed sins. The Day of Atonement purged away all sins. Atonement affects our total lives. It is our entrance into the kingdom. A startling aspect of the ritual is in verses 16 to 19, one common to most sacrifices, but especially noteworthy here. The altar itself is covered by the atonement by sprinkling it with blood 7 times. To use W.F. Lofthouse's term, this altar of burnt offering is unsinned. Atonement is the beginning of the reconstruction of all things, visible and invisible, physical and spiritual. In verse 21, we see again the ritual of the laying on of hands. This implies an identification in judgment, that is, the death of the sacrificial animal is accepted as one's own deserved death penalty. It is also a transfer. In some services, sin and guilt are transferred, in others, power and station. Voss's comment here is especially important. A transfer involves 2 parties, the one transferring and the one receiving. Thus, the recipient is not a mere double of the man who makes the offering, it is a second person. What is here transferred is the sin and the liability to death punishment on the part of the offerer. In the ritual of the 2 goats, the penalty of death was transferred to the goats which was to be sacrificed. With the other goats, the sins were ritually removed from the people and the land. The 2 goats were, in reality, one sacrificial object. We have here vicarious atonement. The subject is offensive to fallen man because he loves to see himself in a godlike isolation. But the vicarious principle has a large place in the kingdom of God on earth. Involuntarily and also voluntarily, we suffer for others and others for us. Man bears the penal consequences of his brother's sins. Otto Scott has called attention to the fact that inheritance is, in a sense, a vicarious element in our lives. We not only suffer vicariously for what others have done, but we also gain what others have done. Thus, to reject the atonement because it gives us a vicarious benefit is to deny a commonplace fact of our lives, namely that remotely past events benefit us today. Such a denial is a rejection of history. We may have been against every president of our lifetime, but we bear vicariously the burden of their sins long after their deaths. We may hate the economic beliefs and practices of our era, but we bear the burden of those sins all the same. Vicarious suffering is a commonplace fact. Only God can provide vicarious atonement. The consequence of atonement is freedom. This deliverance is a freedom from the sin and guilt of our past. Only with this freedom can we find ourselves able to use the past successfully in forging the future. Only with the atonement is it possible for all things to work together for us in Christ. Romans 8:28. The order of the ritual is well summarized by Samuel Clarke. It is important, in reference to the meaning of the Day of Atonement, to observe the order of the rites as they are described in these verses. 1. The sin offering for the priests, verse 11. 2. The high priest enters the first time within the veil with the incense, verses 12 and 13. 3. He enters the second time with the blood of the priest's sin offering, verse 14. 4. The sacrifice of the goat for Jehovah, verse 15. 5. The high priest enters the third time within the veil with the blood of the goat, verse 15. 6. The atonement for the tent of meeting, verse 16. 7. The atonement for the altar of burnt offering in the court, verses 18 and 19. 8. The goat sent away to Azazel, verses 20 to 22. 9. The high priest bathes himself and resumes his golden garments, verses 23 and 24. 10. The burnt offerings for the high priest and the people with the fat of the 2 sin offerings offered on the altar, verses 24 and 25. 11. The accessory sacrifices mentioned, Numbers 29, 8 to 11, appear now to have been offered. 12. According to Jewish tradition, the high priest again resumed his white dress and entered a 4th time within the veil to fetch out the censer and the bowl. The goal of this was, in Wenham's words, that sin be exterminated from Israel, according to Psalm 103:12. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. Micah 7:19 declares, Thou wilt cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. Atonement has as its purpose the freedom of man and the earth from sin for God's kingdom and justice, for the dominion of righteousness. The vicarious atonement of our Lord Jesus Christ leads to our vicarious righteousness, our justification, and to our freedom to become Christ's instruments and members of righteousness or justice, to bring about his dominion of justice and truth in all the earth. We cannot escape God's order. It is inherent in every atom of our being. God's order is inescapable order. To deny it or rebel against it is to invite judgment and reprobation. Atonement is central to God's order, and men cannot escape its force. They may seek atonement through sadomasochistic activities or variations thereof. In commenting on the ideas of William Blake, Schultz noted, The point to keep in mind is that self-annihilation represents an alternative to the hated doctrine of atonement. In demanding of every individual the exercise of selfless love, the principle of self-annihilation brings the sacred hierarchy of the Christian mystery within the grasp of every person. It reduces holy exclusivity to the skill of humanity. Self-annihilation, and kenosis is a form of it, accomplishes only a sustained defeat. The alternative to the hated doctrine of the atonement is death.